Hello, everyone. Very good evening for everyone to whoever are watching us on Step Up Live's page. Today we have a little special show with Dr. Manoj with us. He's an astrophysicist, and today we'll have some interesting conversations on how maybe the day was formed, or maybe in terms of counted at what is called a day, and maybe what is called a year, and what kind how the calendars have been formed, some historical backgrounds, some scientific, some maybe political or maybe historical backgrounds that will come up during the discussion. So मैं चाहूंगा कि आप लोग सब जिन लोगों को इस एरिया में इंटरेस्ट है, जो भी एस्ट्रोनॉमी एस्ट्रोफिजिक्स के टॉपिक्स में, and how these have been formed. So it will be an interesting conversation with Dr. Manoj, and मैं चाहूंगा कि आप अपने questions comment section में डालते जाइए, and that will be really nice for all of us to maybe put some questions to him, even if it is the lamest of question. Just put that, we'll try to address it. That maybe some questions you think may not be that big, but they are of a great cause of discussion. So before we put the thing to Dr. Manoj, I'd like to request you two guys to just subscribe to this YouTube channel and press the bell icon, because that I always request to people. Dr. Manoj, how are you? It's great to have you back.
Hi, it's great to be back with you guys again. And as I say, it's nice to have this kind of conversation because we don't have many such conversations. Either things becomes too technical, what we talk
Right,
about,
right,
or else it doesn't reach anywhere. But this is a great platform that you guys have provided, and I love
right.
to get into conversation. And as I said, that I am not here to teach anything. We are just here to have a discussion and maybe help people to develop a certain perspective about how things are. Because there are
Correct.
many things that I learned when I was doing my PhD or something. And then I realized, "ये मुझे पहले क्यों नहीं पता था? I should have learned it much before." So
Absolutely. And
let's
I
go
mean,
ahead.
yeah, actually you're right. Actually, how we are developing a perspective, और किस तरीके से हमारी सोच बदलती है over a period of
Right.
time, and I'm pretty sure we'll have some interesting conversations. So Manoj, would you like me to share the screen and we could take up the first topic, or you have something else on your mind to set the ball rolling?
No, no, we can start. We can share the screen and then let's go
Cool.
ahead.
I'll do that. And actually, the poster or the banner that we put out actually was a little intriguing, and a lot of people had some questions about it regarding. I mean, is really a day not 24 hours, or maybe are all the days of the same length? That was also one question somebody asked me, and they were like, I mean, some people follow a certain calendar, some people, I mean, I like. So, I mean, could you just elaborate on this actually when we put this
Oh
into
yes,
perspective?
this is precisely why I'm here. Because before asking the question, whether a day is really 24 hours or not, or whether all the days are of equal length or not, first we
Right.
should ask, what is a day? You know, we always take a day as something for granted. Like it,
Correct.
we should go behind. Day क्या है यार? वो तो समझे
Correct.
पहले.
True.
Okay.
True.
Then we
Yes.
should ask, month. But actually, day and month, the way we understand it today, earlier it was not always the same. So let's go ahead. I will not go through this order all the time. Okay, it's a conversation. So जब जो
True.
मर्जी वो करेंगे, लेकिन let's have a look at it. Okay.
Yeah.
And believe me, when I first went through this whole concept of measuring time from an astronomy point of view, I was actually
Correct.
doing my PhD and all. Okay.
Right.
That is when I felt as if, it took me few days. वो एक घंटे के talk में नहीं हुआ था. But over
Correct.
a scale of few days,
Right.
I realized my worldview had changed.
Correct.
It was like, when you go through a merry-go-round, अब पूरा घूमता है ना, where all these rides, दिमाग घूमता
Correct.
है. You are in a daze. When you come out, you are in a daze. And that
Correct.
is exactly what I felt like. I was in a daze. The way I was looking at the world, everything was swirling around me.
Correct.
So it was a kind of a freewheeling ride for me to understand the nature of time and how we measure time, basically,
Correct.
measurement of time.
Correct.
And so I give all these pictures out here of different kinds of merry-go-rounds that we have, and
Correct.
we will start a talk only on merry-go-round. I decided कि आज जो बात करेंगे, look at these different kinds of merry-go-round. We'll talk about
Right.
that.
True. True. And actually, Dr. Manoj, it's always a great example when we talk about the merry-go-round. And when people are like, when they are in it, they feel differently. When they are out
Yes,
of it, they feel differently. When
yes,
I'm looking at somebody else also in the merry-go-round, I feel a little different. So all these things are actually a little different perspectives.
exactly, exactly. And suppose अगर हम बचपन से मेरी गो राउंड भी होते, okay,
Correct.
and all our life was a merry go round, we will do that thing as very normal.
Absolutely.
Okay, then if we come out of it, we will say that the world is not normal,
Correct.
So, what we need to understand is, technically, I'll say frame of reference. In physics, we give this term frame of reference. What
Correct.
we are measuring with reference to.
Correct.
जैसे हम जब time measure करते हैं, understand one thing, we always have a starting point and an ending point. If you don't have the
Correct.
two, we cannot have a measurement of time.
Correct.
Similarly, when we are measuring anything in space, location, we are always measuring in terms of a certain background which we assume to be stationary.
Correct.
ठीक है? In our assumption, a certain thing is stationary and certain things are moving. So
Correct.
whatever we consider as stationary, that is our frame of reference.
Correct. Exactly. True.
ओके, और हमारा मेजरमेंट जो है, हमारा पर्सपेक्टिव जो है पूरा बदल जाता है. कंप्लीटली चेंजेस व्हेन वी चेंज आवर बैकग्राउंड विथ रेफरेंस टू व्हिच वी आर मेकिंग आवर मेजर.
Correct. Correct. And the surprising part, Dr. Manoj, is that the shocking part is that later we realize the frame of reference on which we are is also moving. so, so, so that is
Exactly.
also maybe
That
a
is,
relative frame of reference.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So that is
Yeah.
what I was saying. If we are born and brought up in a merry-go-round, what we see
Correct.
everything swirling around us, that will be normal to us,
Correct.
because
Correct.
in that case, what we consider stationary and what we consider moving is different.
Correct.
And the
Correct.
moment we come out of the merry-go-round, what we consider stationary and what we consider moving is different.
Correct.
Okay,
Absolutely.
so this
Right.
change in perspective is what causes the days in our mind. We are dizzy because of that.
Correct. Correct. True. True. Absolutely.
Chalo,
Yeah.
if
So should I
we
should
can,
I scroll
yeah,
it
we
down?
can go to the next. Yeah, let's go to the
Yeah.
next slide. Okay,
Yeah.
now you see, यहाँ पे जो है, look at this picture. We are looking at this picture, a merry-go-round from the top. Okay,
Correct.
that is and we also have a spinning top. We know what a spinning top is, right? Lattu hai. We all
Correct.
have played with it. I
Right.
don't think there's anybody who has never touched a top, spinning top or something. I think
True.
in our
True.
lives we all have at least once, you know, tried to play with a spinning top and make it spin and see
Correct.
how it moves and wonder ki kya ho raha hai. And then we take it for granted and we move ahead in life.
Correct.
But a huge amount of physics, huge amount of astronomy can be explained just by the simple spinning top.
Correct. Correct.
ये सिंपल नहीं है. जब हम समझते when we समझते हैं ना कोई चीज को, whenever we understand something, even the simple things are very difficult to understand. It takes centuries and generations to understand things.
Correct.
Okay, so यहाँ पे I just want to compare the two things and then look at the size of the thing.
Correct.
Okay, now imagine ये जो merry go round है from the top, it
Right.
is stationary. ठीक है, imagine this merry go round is stationary. We are not moving, and one of the seats we put the spinning top. Okay,
Correct.
can we go to the next slide, Kumel?
Yes.
Okay, now, yeah, maybe, yeah. Now you see in the picture, I have placed this spinning top. Okay, ऊपर
Right.
से top view है, blue color
Correct.
का circle, blue circle
Correct.
you can see. Okay,
Right.
now, now please picturize this. We will just create a mental picture of what is happening.
Correct.
Okay, now you see one arrow. Okay, which is facing towards the center of the
Center.
merry-go-round.
Correct.
Okay, and if you extend that arrow, you see on the left also there is an arrow in the same direction.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
So
right,
now imagine a spinning top which is not spinning right now, stationary hai, okay,
right,
and it is facing the center of the merry-go-round, okay, in
correct,
the direction of the arrow, okay,
right,
and the arrow is also pointing to a direction behind the merry-go-round.
correct. It's extended.
It's extended, okay. So maybe
Correct.
there's someone standing there, wo jhadi ke piche koi hai. You are looking toward that,
Correct.
okay.
Correct.
Something. So here we are not looking at only one person, the center of
Right.
the merry-go or one thing center of the merry-go-round, but also looking behind, okay.
Correct.
And if you see, I have also printed a pink colored kind of illuminated region which is
Correct.
facing the center of the merry-go-round. Okay.
Correct.
Now, yeah, you can extend this part here. Yes,
Yeah.
this is clear, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this looks clear. Okay. So now what is happening is the spinning top is here, and there is one particular point which is facing towards the center and also looking beyond.
Correct.
Okay. And also we have a corresponding pink portion which is also facing towards the center of the merry-go-round.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Now imagine this top, ये लट्टू जो है, it moves in a circle.
Correct.
Okay. Now, when do I consider? I'm asking you, Komal, you are my student. Although I said कि I'm teaching नहीं करेंगे, लेकिन हम आज सवाल पूछेंगे.
Yes. Yes.
When
Surely.
does when does that spinning top decide I've completed one circle?
Maybe when it is completing the same reference point comes to that original position, then it feels that it has rotated by one rotation or
Yeah,
something.
exactly,
Correct.
exactly. Original position. But you know,
Correct.
as we were discussing now, position is always with respect to a
A
stationary
fixed.
background,
Correct.
a
Fixed frame of
fixed
reference.
background, fixed
Correct.
frame of reference. यहाँ पे tell me what is the fixed frame of reference?
I think the center of the merry-go-round could be one that could be one fixed center and एक
Yes,
हो सकता है जो perspective जहाँ पर कोई ground में है तो that could be also be one way. We got also a request
excellent.
from our audience, that Dr. Manoj, that
Yes.
if some of the concepts you could also provide it in Hindi, so वो थोड़ा सा
हाँ,
will
जरूर.
have a better reach to some of the students across
Yeah,
the country.
sure. I
So
will
we'll
try.
also try
I will
to
try.
do that.
Yes,
So that's just a
I will
comment
try. But you
from
see,
the audience.
क्या है
Yeah,
technical things ना we were taught in English.
correct, correct. True, sir.
So it is
Absolutely.
difficult, but I will definitely try my best. ठीक है?
Yes, sir. We will do
So
as far as possible our concepts
जहाँ तक हो
जहाँ पर
सके,
हम लोग कर सकें.
जहाँ तक
बिल्कुल
हो
sir.
सके, we will.
Yes,
I'll be bilingual. If you want, I can talk in Bengali
sir. I mean, it will have bigger reach. Yeah,
also. Yeah, exactly. Now the
true.
thing is, so यहाँ पे frame of reference है, we need a background, stationary background चाहिए,
Correct,
and something is moving and coming back to the same point. Okay. So
correct.
now, if there is somebody at the edge of the spinning top, लट्टू के edge में है, suppose कोई ant, चींटी,
बराबर.
okay, वो है, और वो लट्टू के साथ घूम रहा है. When does the ant come to the conclusion? I mean, we are assuming that ant is very intelligent, which
Right.
they might be. We don't know
We know.
because
I think the
ants
way they
actually are
function,
very
I
intelligent.
believe they are. The way they function,
Ants
I think.
actually are very intelligent because they have an experiment has been done where it has been proven that ants actually follow the sun and they find the direction with respect with angle to the sun.
I mean,
The
I mean,
experiment that
yes, and also
the experiment that
Dr.
was
Manoj.
done was कि
Yes,
an ant was walking और उसको ना bowl से ढक दिया. You put a bowl on top of the ant, fine,
correct.
and keep the ant there for some time. Then you remove the bowl after 1 hour or something, 1 or 2 hours.
Right.
The ant initially was walking in a random direction, and then it found its direction with respect to the sun and started walking.
Correct. Correct. So the,
So
and yes, I agree, Dr. Manoj, and because also the way they function intelligently while working well in the summers and the winters kind of concept. Also, I believe ants have a lot of scientific background in
yeah,
the
yeah,
small
yeah,
heads.
exactly. They have
Yes,
their
go
own
on.
way of thinking. Now,
Agree.
thing is, let's go back to the top, spinning
Yes,
top, and the ant on the surface. Okay.
correct,
So
correct,
as you absolutely said, the ant on the spinning top decides कि with respect to a certain initial point वापस वहीं पे आ गया. It has returned to the same point. ठीक
बराबर,
है.
बिल्कुल, बिल्कुल.
And it decides कि okay, we have completed one cycle.
Correct.
Fine. Now, can you come to the next slide?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, we can extend this thing. Now you see, imagine that a spinning top was on the merry-go-round and the merry-go-round has also started to move.
Correct.
Okay. Now you can see the initial position as it was in the previous slide where the spinning top was. लट्टू पहले कहाँ पे था? ठीक है?
Right.
लट्टू पहले ये नीचे था. It was
Correct.
facing the center of the merry-go-round. Center पे
Correct.
arrow भी था and the
Correct.
pink face was facing the center.
Correct.
Now, the lattu is spinning, the top is spinning, and the merry-go-round is also moving.
Correct.
Now, when imagine the merry-go-round has moved from this bottom place to the slightly top, anti-clockwise direction moved here.
Correct.
Okay, and now the ant or any entity on this spinning top, how will it decide when it has completed one cycle? Yellow
Because now,
arrow points to the
correct.
something at the background,
Correct.
okay, in the same direction,
Right.
parallel direction. You see the yellow arrows
Right.
are parallel direction.
Correct.
That is one cycle. Or when look at the pink surface where it is facing the center of the merry-go-round.
Correct.
Okay.
True.
Now tell me, Kumel, which is one cycle?
I think when this line of action will actually transform onto the other side, would be considering as the maybe when we are looking at every time the pink one will be focusing on the center, but this point will keep on rotating around the circle and it will come around on that side. Would be one cycle.
Well, you see, I'll just say one thing. Again, this is depending on your perspective.
Correct.
Okay, there is no one absolutely correct way of defining it.
Right.
Okay, now suppose we were two kings, in the past, and you believed that arrow, yellow arrow, gives the proper measure of the cycle, and I will
Correct.
say that the pink face gives the proper way of the cycle.
Correct.
Okay, and we were fighting each other.
Right.
Whoever won will decide, okay, this is how things will be done,
Correct.
and that will be the procedure followed by everyone
True.
in the kingdom. Okay,
Correct.
but here what happens is that depending on what is convenient to me, I will choose that particular way. And
Correct.
the scientific method is that we accept that these are two frames of reference. There are two
Correct.
ways of referring to it.
Correct.
Okay. And so we cannot claim this is the only right.
Correct. We are just saying which is more popular, to say the least.
Popular, we have to say context. I will come to this
Correct.
again to
Right.
specify what the context is.
Correct.
ठीक है? But
Right.
I'll leave this topic here just now and later come to the context at what context which is more useful. I will not say which is correct. I will say which is
Right.
more useful under what context.
Correct, correct. And I absolutely, whoever are watching, I would like to just say that Dr. Manoj is giving us a perspective on how maybe a day is actually calculated, and what we call as one circle of the Earth rotation, and we have said that we've learned as maybe a day, and how it actually is being calculated, and what are the perspectives. So, if you have any questions, then put down in the comment section. I'll just scroll
Yeah,
down to the
please.
next slide. एंड आप लोग भी थोड़ा बहुत इमेजिन करने की कोशिश करिए, because you will have some questions about it, and I think you guys can also have your questions on the comment. I'll scroll down to the next picture.
या नाउ ये जो पिक्चर है ना, पिक्चर
Right.
क्या था प्रीवियस स्लाइड का? यू हैड अ टॉप, ओके,
Correct.
एंड इट वाज प्लेस्ड ऑन अ मेरी गो राउंड, एंड टॉप इज आल्सो स्पिनिंग, लट्टू
Right.
घूम रहा है, मेरी गो राउंड भी घूम रहा है,
Correct.
झूला, ओके. नाउ इमेजिन a little bit more complicated situation. Now, ये top जो है at every point, it is not just a simple top. It is kept in a ये जो झूला है इसके अंदर है, ठीक है? और ये झूला भी घूम रहा है. So you have friends around who are also rotating.
Correct.
Okay, at a different speed. Top is moving at a different speed, and the merry-go-round is moving at a different speed.
Correct.
Okay,
Because
so
ये
you can
individually
imagine.
भी घूम रहा है. Correct.
So now imagine कि मेरी गो राउंड सबसे बड़ा जो है वो घूम रहा है, इट्स मूव इन एन एंटी
Correct.
क्लॉकवाइज डायरेक्शन. ओके,
Right.
देन इमेजिन at every point the top is where the circle is, this top is actually placed on the center of this झूला, where this rod is.
Correct.
ठीक है, top is also rotating, और ये झूला जो है with all these seats, they are also rotating. You must
Correct.
have been to rides, where you have multiple
Yes.
rotations happening. I have been
Correct.
to, and they are very enjoyable. Okay.
Yeah, and I mean they are
But
at a different center. I mean distance from the center as well.
yeah, that is also possible. Exactly, that
Correct.
is also done. Lekin I
Correct.
have not discussed that complication in this picture.
Okay. Cool.
Okay, I'm just talking about. So now you think top is at the center of this jhula. Okay,
बराबर.
and there is a person, sitting at the chair. So now this guy in the top, वो ant जो है, he now looks at this guy in the chair, वो भी घूम रहा है,
बराबर.
ठीक है? अब उसका भी एक साइकिल है,
बराबर.
right?
Correct.
Now let's go to the concept. Now let's imagine ये जो concept है, that the center of this merry-go-round is the sun.
Correct.
Okay, this top, spinning top, is the earth.
बिल्कुल.
Okay, and one of these chairs which is moving around the spinning top in a different speed, it is the moon.
Correct.
Okay, so now we can see merry-go-round is moving around. That means this whole पूरा झूला जो है with the top, वो भी is moving around the sun.
Correct.
Okay, उसमें ये झूला घूम रहा है. That means the moon is also going around in a circle around this center
Correct.
point,
Correct.
around
Correct.
the earth, and the earth is also moving.
Correct.
Okay, so now comes कि यहाँ पे historically अगर देखो, you look at it, earth and sun, these are very important for us, and it took
Absolutely.
a long time for us to decide कि कौन क्या है. Initially, if you look at
Correct.
history, people gave exactly the same stature to the sun and the moon.
Correct.
Okay, every mythology, they consider sun as a god, moon as a god, and they are on the
Correct.
same stature.
Correct.
Okay, it took us thousands of years to understand that they are not exactly the same. ठीक है?
Correct.
So
Right.
now, अब जो है, we have to get into little bit of more understanding. So first, let's understand the Earth Moon system. ठीक है? वो सबसे करीब है.
Correct.
ठीक है? Any questions around? If are people asking, if there is any question, I can.
Actually,
If not, then we go
right
to the next
no,
one.
right now there is no question, but I just wanted to add, sir, एक और complication है जो अभी आपने मतलब डाला नहीं है हम लोगों के लिए कि they are also maybe not rotating in a circle. तो वो भी एक चैलेंज ऑलरेडी है.
Yes.
मतलब हमने अभी तक उस पार्ट पे किया है कि मे बी इफ वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द सन and the earth,
Yes.
maybe the orbit is not circular. Maybe it's elliptical.
Yes.
Abhi we have not
Not
gone to
just
that
that.
next level of complication.
एक और है, एक और कॉम्प्लिकेशन है. यहाँ पे देखो,
And
वो जो सेंटर का
tilt,
पोल है ना, और
right,
झूले का पोल, दे आर पैरेलल.
वो भी tilt करने का एक
That is
complication है.
that is extremely important.
Correct. Let's move on rather than adding complications. I agree.
Yeah.
So let's go to the concept here about the moon and
Yeah.
yeah,
Now let's see. Now with that picture in our mind, let's first understand the Earth and the Moon. ये picture तो सबने देखा है ना, बचपन से कहीं ना कहीं तो देखा होगा ही हो.
correct, correct, true,
Okay, so the thing is, the Moon is moving around the Earth. That is what we
right,
see, right?
right,
But here I want to just maybe diversify a little bit thing. Suppose I ask a question. Okay, this is
right,
not part of today's talk. लेकिन
right,
दिमाग खुराफाती दिमाग है. We always keep on asking questions.
correct,
Okay,
correct.
is the moon moving around the Earth or is the moon moving around the sun?
सर वो तो मतलब दोनों काम कर रहा है, मतलब वो इधर ऐसे 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 भी घूम रहा है और ऐसे 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 भी घूम रहा है, मतलब रोटेटिंग एंड रिवॉल्विंग वाला जो लॉजिक है, तो वो तो खुद के तो कर रहा है और साथ साथ में ऐसे 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 और हो के वो मतलब बाकी सन के अराउंड
Okay,
भी घूम रहा है.
okay. Let me twist the question a little bit. Moon belongs to the Earth or does the moon belong to the sun?
अभी देखिए पास में जिसके है हम तो सर उसी को बिलोंग बोलेंगे, मतलब हमारा तो ऐसा मतलब मानना है क्योंकि
Yeah, that
बहुत
is a
ज्यादा.
perspective. That is your perspective. Okay, that's okay. That is how we look at it.
करेक्ट,
Lekin, if I give you another fact, okay, I tell you the gravitational force on the moon due to the Earth, and if you compare it with the gravitational force on the moon due to the sun, then the force due to the sun is about twice that the gravitational force of the Earth.
ट्रू. सो देन इन दैट
Okay,
केस we have to believe it belongs to the sun.
exactly. So I will give this as as an exercise for you guys, everyone around.
Right.
Next, now go and search what is the orbit of the moon around the sun. It is a very, very interesting thing. Okay,
Definitely,
and
this is a
no,
good
I
thing.
will and I will give some hint. What makes it so impressive is that we assume that the moon is going around the Earth, right?
Right.
And going around the sun. तो वो ऐसे spiral करता जाएगा क्या?
Correct, correct.
Okay,
Yeah,
some kind
मतलब
of spiral will be
right.
there,
Some kind of a spiral will
but
be there.
there is no spiral. There is no spiral motion. The moon when we talk about spiral, what is the definition of spiral? It changes direction. उल्टा कभी
Correct,
स्पाइरल कहता है ऐसे ऐसे जाता है ना, कभी तो उल्टा जाएगा, फिर सीधा होगा, फिर उल्टा जाएगा.
correct,
लेकिन moon's motion around the sun, there is no retrograde motion. It is always in one direction, never changes that.
correct.
So there is no spiral thing. It's an amazing motion.
I think that we should check this out. I think it is very interesting.
Absolutely, you should check this out.
Yeah, we
I
should
had not
check it.
planned. Yeah, this came to my mind just now, so I just raised this issue.
Yeah, and sir, normally हमारा imagination limits ourselves because of हम लोग क्या है rotational with things rotating about each other वाला जो concept है वो थोड़ा सा weak ही रहता है. I'll be honest.
Always.
मतलब fixed frame
Yes,
of reference में वो easy रहता है imagine करना,
yes,
because in fact I can give a simple example of a gimbal also. अगर लोगों ने वो
right.
gimbal देखा होगा, that is also a very good example of how maybe the rotation of the handle and the camera actually gets
Yes,
correlated with maybe a gyroscopic
absolutely.
arrangement in the center, and that's also a good example of maybe how they stabilize the movement of the camera. तो वो भी एक अच्छा, I mean, just for remembering or giving some example, I just thought.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is an excellent example. Because once you get into this rotation of solid bodies na, दिमाग
Right.
घूम जाता है.
Absolutely, I agree. I agree.
Okay. So now
जी.
let's see. Now you see,
Yes.
now let's come to this phases of the moon. ठीक है. The new moon is when moon and sun are together. That
Correct.
is a new moon phase. Okay.
Right.
And then the moon goes around the earth. That is what we observe.
Correct.
ठीक है. And finishes one cycle. ये तो हम सबको पता है, right? And I will not explain the phases of the moon. That we all understand.
True.
It is
True.
reflecting sunlight और जितना वो sun से हमारे हिसाब से जितना वो sun को फेस कर रहा है उतना हमें दिखता है.
करेक्ट, वो हमारा नजरिया है, मतलब दिस इज व्हाट वी हैव
Yeah,
कंक्लूडेड बाय बीइंग ऑन अर्थ. अगर हम कोई और प्लेनेट पे होते तो
exactly.
शायद ये कुछ और होता.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yes,
Now let's
बिल्कुल.
go to the next slide.
Right. Yes.
Okay. Now the question that I want to raise out here is, what is the period? What is the position where I will consider the moon has completed one phase around? हमें जो दिख रहा है ना phases of the moon. Ah, moon is
Right.
moving around the earth. We are claiming. When
Correct.
has it completed one cycle around the earth? Okay,
Uh,
ठीक है. Maybe we
right.
can expand this top right wala figure.
Yes, I will zoom it in so that it becomes a
Zoom
little
it in.
more.
Just
Yeah.
exactly. यहाँ पे. So now you see, suppose on a particular day is a new moon day. ठीक है? The moon and the sun are parallel to me. हम moon जहाँ है sun ऐसे दिख रहा है.
Correct.
Okay. Now the moon is moving around the earth, and if you look at it, after 27.3 days, okay. Now again, before I come to the finishing of cycle, यहाँ पे let's fix a point behind the sun.
Correct.
Okay, some portion, a portion in the sky which is behind the sun.
बराबर.
ठीक है, which we consider as stationary, and we are considering sun is also stationary. Okay, on this particular moment. But after few days, the because the earth is moving, वो background change होगा.
बिल्कुल.
Okay, and that is when we'll assume that the sun is actually moving in the sky because it is changing the background, and that is how we decide the zodiac क्या है.
Correct.
Okay, on the background of the sun, which constellation is in the background of the sun.
Correct. Correct. At what point you were born and what was it facing?
All those things. Exactly. Where what was the background of the sun and when that particular time happened.
बराबर है.
ठीक है.
मतलब वो उसने तो कई लोगों की जिंदगी सर वो कर दी है मंगल वंगल और बहुत ही मतलब.
Exactly. Let's not get into that. यहाँ पे जल्दी आते हैं. Now you
बिल्कुल.
see, new moon phase जो है t equal to 0 day जो है ना.
Right.
Here, as I said, we always have a beginning point of time and an end point. Otherwise, time doesn't make any sense to us.
बिल्कुल.
And when we are measuring position, we always have a fixed background with whose reference we measure the position.
Correct.
Now, on time t equal to 0 day, we are saying the moon and the sun are on the same direction.
Correct.
And the moon and some background of the sun again is in the same direction.
Correct.
ठीक है, on t equal to 0.
Correct.
Now you see, the sun, the earth is moving, the moon is moving around the earth.
Correct.
अब ऊपर जाता है, let's go at a time t equal to 27.3 days. That
Correct.
d is day. Okay, t. Now the moon has finished, has come to the same point with respect to the earth if we take the fixed background
Correct.
into consideration.
Correct.
ठीक है?
Right.
Okay, so that is known as, whenever we take the fixed background or some star in the background, that is known as sidereal. Sidereal day, sidereal month, sidereal year. Okay.
Okay.
Sidereal means of the star, with respect to the star.
True.
Okay, it's the Latin term.
Correct.
Now the thing is, so, but is the moon in the same direction as the sun at that point of time?
Not exactly. I feel. I mean, it won't be the
Yes,
because it won't be exactly in line. Yeah. I mean, right.
exactly. So the phase of the moon is not the same. It is still not new moon.
Correct.
When it has same position as my background star, it is not in the same position.
Correct.
Now I measure the cycle of the moon in terms of the phase of the moon with respect to the sun.
Correct.
ठीक है, न्यू मून जो है अमावस एंड फुल मून इज पूर्णिमा.
Correct.
ओके, वो तो तभी होगा ना जब वो पूर्णिमा एग्जैक्टली पीछे है, यू नो, behind the sun, whole of sun is falling, sunlight is falling on the moon,
On
you
the
know, we
moon.
are
Correct.
getting the reflection, the whole face of the moon.
Correct.
और न्यू मून अमावस तभी होता है, you know, when we are not getting any portion of the moon visible to us.
Correct. Correct.
So that is one cycle. Okay, so now when it comes to any position, with respect to the sun, it is known as synodic.
Right.
Okay, any position of any solar system object, whether it's a moon or other planets or an asteroid or whatever,
Right.
that means कि क्या है? You see, at t equal to 0, the moon and the sun, whatever the relative position is, at t equal to 29.5, the moon and the sun are again the same relative direction
Correct.
as I see from the earth.
Correct.
ठीक है? So now, if I want to define the cycle of the moon, again there are two ways.
Correct. One will be
Okay,
with the fixed star, and one with the will be the sun.
yeah. अब क्या है? Now let's understand this very historically. People realized, you know, historically we might think we are very advanced right now, but if you go to 10,000 years, 20,000 years back, even then, people made amazing, accurate observation of the sky. Amazing. Okay, so human beings, very often I feel, we are all very stupid the way we act, but at the same time, we are all capable of achieving some great things in life. There's some amazing things we have achieved, and that is why our civilization has progressed.
True.
And so, one of the amazing things is that the accuracy with which people have been able to measure these things historically, thousands and thousands of years ago. So, people realized that after approximately 12 such cycles of the moon, the seasons keep on repeating.
Correct.
When I say season, the summer, the
Correct.
monsoon, autumn, winter, spring, the whole season. Of course, seasons differ depending on which part of the earth you are.
Correct.
Like, for
Exactly.
example, in India, tropical season are different from the season that you have in the,
Correct.
you know, at higher latitudes. And also, if you go to southern hemisphere, it is just flipped because of the inclination of the earth and all those things.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
but amazing thing is that no matter which civilization you go to, whether it's the American civilization, the Mayans and all, or the Chinese civilization, or the Indian civilization, or
Right.
the Babylonians, the Mesopotamians, okay, in that region, everywhere, people were able to measure this thing and measure this cycle. Amazing.
Correct. Just to add to it, Dr. Manoj, actually, I remember one experiment that I had actually heard about where they measured the distance of the sun from the earth, I think, or the radius of the earth. I think that was one experiment that they did with that stick and going that distance
Ah, yes,
within that city. And that was so many years ago
absolutely.
where they didn't have,
Absolutely.
and they got it
Sometimes,
with so much great accuracy. I mean, that was so amazing.
sometimes, if I get a chance, I'd like to discuss that also.
Right. So,
The way all these things happen, how our knowledge evolves. Okay, it's
correct.
amazing actually. It's amazing.
Absolutely.
Okay,
So true.
so now the thing is, now people actually were able to measure, even thousands of years ago, different civilizations, the concept of the sidereal length of time, whether it's a sidereal day, sidereal month, sidereal year. Okay. At the same time, the the solar day or the synodic periodicity.
Right.
Okay.
Correct.
And now the thing is, people were able to measure that this synodic period is approximately 29 and a half days. That is, if I take the sidereal day, then the period of the moon around the earth is 27.3 days.
Correct.
If I
Right.
take the synodic period, you see, then the period is 29 and a half because the moon has to cover some extra angle to
Correct.
be in the line of sight with the sun,
Yes,
and that
completely.
takes about 2 days.
Correct.
Okay, so now if I take 12 such periods, then it comes to 354 days.
Correct.
Okay, at the same time, different civilizations, were able to measure the sun also, but depending on the civilization, on the ruler, or the I won't say one ruler, but on the predominant thought that ruled the particular civilization, people decided to follow a certain calendar.
Correct.
So the lunar calendars are based completely on this phases of the moon. Plain simple lunar calendars.
Correct.
Okay. And that way you have 354 days in a year for this lunar calendar.
That's
11
why it
days.
keeps shifting. That's why it keeps
Yes,
shifting. I think that's the what we call as
exactly.
कि इस बार थोड़ा पहले आ रही है, पिछली बार थोड़ी बाद में आ रही थी। तो इस बार जो है वो थोड़ा आगे
Exactly.
बढ़ रहा है। आई थिंक ये आगे बढ़ने का
Exactly.
कॉन्सेप्ट आज हम लोगों को थोड़ा-सा क्लियर भी हुआ है। सो जस्ट टू गिव अ लिटिल मोर सिंपलर
Yes,
पर्सपेक्टिव टू द कंप्लीट आइडिया।
exactly. I mean, तुम्हारा तिथि जो है दिवाली का दिन क्यों चेंज होता रहता है यार? दशहरा दिवाली चेंज होता रहता है क्यों?
करेक्ट।
And if you look at the Islamic calendar,
राइट,
there's no one calendar. Okay, but they have one completely lunar calendar.
करेक्ट।
Okay, that keeps on shifting, right? All the year
या
round. At the
या इट
same
कीप्स
time, there's
ऑल राउंडिंग।
another all around the year, it keeps on shifting. And then
करेक्ट,
at the same time, there's another calendar which takes the solar also into account.
राइट,
Okay, so
ट्रू,
then what happens, So you see, it completely depends on the predominant thought of what we
करेक्ट,
consider as more important for whatever reason.
करेक्ट,
And that determines the world we look. It determines the worldview in a sense. And so imagine now you see, for example, if you follow the lunar calendar completely without taking course in the solar calendar at all, then your season will keep on shifting.
करेक्ट।
Okay, now what? Yes,
Dr. Manoj, I actually just want to take one question from Riddhi. I mean, how is she mentions about the leap year? I mean, explained. So maybe if you could also throw some light on
of
that,
course.
would be nice.
Yeah. So I'm going a bit slow. So
Yeah,
I will move a bit faster. Definitely, I talk about leap year. उसमें बहुत complications हैं.
right.
Okay, but the thing is,
Yeah,
before going to the day and year,
right.
okay, let's try to understand this month Vala Funda. So now the
Correct.
thing is, many civilizations understood this concept that
Correct.
if I follow the sun, then it follows a different cycle of a
Correct.
year, the seasons.
Right.
Okay,
Correct.
we define the year by seasons, mind you. That is a driving force because people wanted to forecast when to plant the seed.
Correct.
They wanted to plan ahead. How to what the seasons will be like.
Correct.
So that is what the defining thing was.
Correct.
So then they decided they found there's a gap of 11 days.
Correct.
So I will not go into detail of different calendars, but every calendar, which is a combination of the lunar and the solar calendar, every now and then they do these corrections.
Correct. Right. True.
Okay, they put it. For example, the Indian calendar, the lunar calendar, the lunar solar calendar, they have something called Adhik Mas.
Correct. Additional
They
month itself.
introduce additional month after when around 30 days, 32 days have been accrued, 11 days
Correct.
in a year. Okay, so
जमा जमा
when
करके
they
वो
are
अरियस अरियस दे देते हैं मतलब।
exactly arrears दे दिया 1 महीने का. So
I
that's
just try to put lame perspectives, Dr. Manoj.
yes. No, that's perfect. That's a perfect example. I was thinking what analogy to give. That's a very good analogy. आपने 11 दिन इकट्ठा किया, अगले साल और 11 दिन इकट्ठा किया, अगले साल और 11 दिन इकट्ठा, चलो 1 महीना दे दो.
चलो खुश रहो।
कुछ लोगों. So that is how corrections are done. Okay.
Correct.
Now let's come to
Correct.
the next slide, please. Yeah.
Yes. Dr. Manoj, we would like just to speed it up a little bit so that we can cover a lot of portions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just
No,
scroll
more
down.
or less अभी हो गया है. So now the
Yes.
thing is, if
Yeah.
you go to the analogy of the merry-go-round,
Correct.
for the ant sitting on the top, now imagine a man on the earth.
Correct.
Okay. Now there are two ways I can measure a day. ठीक है? One is
Right.
suppose, or look at this bottom portion where at position 1, the left figure, position 1.
Right.
Okay. the man is seeing the sun on noon when it is the highest point in the
correct,
horizon above the highest altitude. ठीक है?
correct.
That I define as noon. 12 बज गए दोपहर का.
Barabar.
ठीक है? Now, when the Earth completes one rotation, the Earth moves to point 2,
Correct.
location 2, or does it move to location 3? You see,
I,
if I'm measuring with respect to a distant star,
correct,
then I complete one day in location 2.
correct,
Okay. And if I'm measuring with respect to the sun, I'll finish one day in location 3.
correct.
Okay.
True.
The right figure is showing the same thing in a different manner, different orientation. That's it.
Right.
ठीक है?
I,
उसमें
ये
in the right figure you can see that the earth where the sun is not exactly the same position, the background point is exactly the same position. ठीक है? And at point 3, the background point has moved and the sun is at the same position now.
correct, correct.
Okay. So now,
Right.
if I want to measure the earth with respect to the background star, it is a sidereal day.
Correct,
If I am measuring with respect to point 3, then it is a solar day.
correct. True.
Okay.
Correct.
Now, so now the thing is, I will not give example. I'll give it as a, you know, as an exercise to तुम दिमाग लगाना बाद में
Correct.
कि the number of cycles that you keep na for sidereal, it will be always one more than the number of cycles of the solar. Okay, always. ठीक है? So now, when we measure a year, which one do I take into consideration? Okay, so this is a confusion which can be very confusing.
Correct.
So the way we do it, the way we resolve the issue is a sidereal day is one day of 24 hours, and the solar day is actually, which takes 4 minutes long. Okay, or I'll say if I'm measuring the solar day, then the sidereal day is approximately 4 minutes longer. 4 minutes क्यों है? क्योंकि देखना, you see, I'm making the whole circle, one whole circle in 365 days approximately. अभी
Correct.
0.25 भूल जाते हैं, वो बाद में आएंगे.
बिल्कुल.
Okay, around 365 days, approximately लगा लो 360 लगा लो. Around 360 days, one whole year.
Right.
ठीक है? Now, if you look at the geometry, तो sidereal जो है 24 hours एक चक्कर पूरा लगाएगा.
बिल्कुल.
So 24 hours, 360 days, one day comes to 4 minutes. Just a simple calculation.
Correct.
Okay. So the difference between a sidereal day and a solar day is 4 minutes. So now depending on what I'm measuring, okay, now the thing is, हमारे लिए कौन से important है? If I'm measuring the seasons and everything, then we measure the tropical calendar. Okay, with the solar day is known as, or the solar year is known as a tropical year, because we want the same seasons to repeat at the same day.
Correct. So we have a consistency in, thinking that summer will last maybe for 3.5 months.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
in this months that we have named, it'll appear there
Yes.
only. It will not keep
Exactly.
moving, cusking
And
from one to the other.
right. Exactly.
Right.
And not just that, we actually measure, in the calendar, the most important observations which you may actually make with
Right.
respect to astronomy and all are the measures of the solstice. 21st of March, okay, 22nd of September, okay, 21st of September, sorry, 22nd December, okay. These are solstice and equinox days, they are very, very important.
Right.
So we want after one cycle, they should come in the same point. वो जो background position जो है उसके साथ.
Correct.
Okay,
Absolutely.
that should not shift, and that is actually how people always make the correction.
Correct. True.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now the thing
Yes.
is, कि you see, so you see, a day, let's go back to the question we raised in the at the beginning. What is
Yeah.
one day? एक दिन क्या है?
Correct.
Before deciding कि, what is the length of a day,
Correct.
first you have to define कि what is a day.
Correct.
Okay, now I'll tell you very important, very, very, fun facts. The Egyptian calendar, Egyptian calendar जो है, they didn't measure the year with respect to the sun. They measured with respect to Sirius. The Sirius is the second brightest object in the
Correct.
second brightest star. I won't say
Correct.
object because moon is also very bright. But if I look at the stars, after
Right.
sun, it is Sirius for us,
Correct.
the apparent brightness, I'll say.
Correct.
And they were one of those civilizations who made their calendar completely based on the sidereal calendar, not on the
Right.
solar calendar.
Correct.
बाकी लोग जो है ना, the Babylonians, the Mesopotamians, and everyone, they kept on making lunar calendar, solar calendar, and make corrections. Even the Indian calendar also, you have all these confusions. But the Egyptians
Correct.
didn't have any confusion. They just followed one
Correct.
sidereal calendar.
Yeah.
And the
That was
funny
actually
thing
one.
is that, yeah, the Romans, they were very good in warfare. They ruled over the world, but they were
Correct.
not interested in mathematics. Their calendar was a complete mess.
True.
They do. बाकी जो है ना, the Greeks, the Babylonians, they used to make corrections, but the Romans went haywire
Correct.
until Julius Caesar came, and he took all the data of the previous thousands of years of previous data of Egypt and Babylon and everything, and he made the correction. He was, we have to have a consistent calendar, and he
Correct.
made the Julian calendar.
Correct. True. Right. So, Dr. Manoj, should we move ahead, taking up the
Yeah,
next part so that we could
yeah,
also address the maybe the leap year as well? So that would also be
yes.
nice.
So this is one cycle of the year, okay. And please, यहाँ पे can we bottom part जो है, let's zoom into that. That is the most important part. Yeah. So
Yeah.
length of a year is actually 365.25 days approximately, which is the Julian year, Julian calendar that we
Correct.
have. Okay. That
Right.
is the calendar devised by Julius Caesar. And they said, no boss, we can't keep on making a mess of the Roman calendar. I mean,
Correct.
so we have to take the Egyptian and the Babylonian, all this knowledge into account. And this actually he developed because when he conquered Egypt, he learned about the Egyptian calendar.
Correct.
ठीक है? So now 365 days, 365 now 0.25 days. Okay. So now what happens is that we are following a solar cycle because we measure a day, our seasons, everything follows a kind of a solar cycle.
Correct.
ठीक है? So now, if I do not accumulate this 0.25, ये जो आपने बोला था ना, arrear है,
Correct.
this arrear has to be given somewhere, na? Because otherwise what will happen is that after 40 years, I'll be off by 10 days, man. After 400 years, I'll be off by 100 days.
Correct. 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 True.
Okay. So now the arrear जो है, कैसे arrear करेंगे? After every 4 years, we'll give one extra day.
Correct.
Anytime.
And उसी दिन लोग पैदा हो जाएंगे और उनकी तकलीफ हो जाएगी सर.
That is okay. Now the thing is, वो तकलीफ क्यों है? Because we have given that extra day to February. Suppose
Correct.
I become the ruler and I say कि no, February नहीं, June will get the extra day. February will always remain 28 days. June का जो extra day वो 31 हो जाए.
Correct.
Will it change any way that the earth moves around the sun?
वो तो सही है. It won't. But they thought, I
It
mean,
won't.
they were just trying to be fair,
Yes.
you know. February actually had so many days. Let's give it
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I agree. You know, fairness is also an idea we have in our mind. Have we asked February कि वो खुश है या दुखी है? Maybe वो कम दिन से ज्यादा खुश है.
I think, सर वो नजरिया तो हमने इंसानों के लिए ही नहीं सोचा तो मंथ के लिए कहाँ से सोचेंगे कि वो खुश है या नहीं। ये तो हम इंसानों को नहीं पूछ रहे सर। तो मंथ को तो
एग्जैक्टली
हमने बिल्कुल इज्जत ही नहीं दी।
एग्जैक्टली एग्जैक्टली तो जूलियस सीजर ने कहा नहीं, फेब्रुअरी विल गेट एक्स्ट्रा डे। ठीक है भैया,
बस
मान लो।
बस एक बार कह दिया तो कह दिया।
कह दिया तो कह दिया। ओके, नाउ नहीं, कुमेल, can you come back to the previous one? Now
यस
you see, but so now we all understand, right? Key length of a year is 365.25 days.
करेक्ट
So after 4 years, we are behind that starting point by 1 day.
करेक्ट
क्योंकि वो 0.25 keeps on adding up.
करेक्ट
ठीक है, तो every 4 years we add 1 day. Now coming
करेक्ट
to नीचे का portion, can you see that bottom portion of the
यस
slide?
यस
And now come here. This is very, very important. This is something which is not taught in school, which should be, I felt it should be taught in school.
करेक्ट करेक्ट
Actually, the accurate measurement of the year, which people did thousands of years ago, is that the length of a year is not 365.25. That is an approximate number. It is 365.242199. Okay. So you see, this is the precision with which people measured. Now, can you tell me what can be the problem with this?
I think if I remember correctly, what happens is that जो total I mean second है last का, that they adjust it, that it is 1 day shorter, 1 day is a little shorter by a few seconds, and they adjust it, something like that is done. I don't know. I mean,
That no, that happens to some other effect. वो जो
okay,
second, leap second, etc. जो आता है ना, that
right,
happens due to some other effect. But the correction that happened because of this is not due to that. Because this doesn't happen in seconds. ठीक है, you can say everything can be measured in seconds,
yeah, but
but
it's not those so small that the unit should be seconds.
yeah.
You trying
So
to
now
say,
what happens is that कि अब देखो, पहले क्या
right,
था? If I assume the actual length of the year is 365.242199. Okay. If I make the assumption that length of a year is exactly 365 days, वो 0.24219 हटा दिया. Okay.
correct,
Then approximately every year I lose about a quarter day,
correct,
and approximately every 4 years I am nearly 1 day behind.
correct,
Okay. Now I add 1 day. But when I'm adding 1 day, you realize that actually it is less than 0.25. So it is not exactly 1 day. वो 1 day से
correct,
थोड़ा कम
correct. हमने तो पूरा दिन ऐड कर दिया just for ease of understanding.
है. Exact. Not just understanding, also, calendar making, going around with the
Correct,
day-to-day life.
right.
A fraction of
अब
day
वो
कौन मानता है?
हाँ, आई
Okay.
मीन लोगों के पास वक्त इतना है कि वो तो बह गया मतलब तो
वो तो
क्वार्टर ऑफ अ
बह
डे
गया,
क्या
कौन मानता है?
कौन
And
मानता है, राइट?
yeah, but the funny thing is, this is actually every 4 years we are getting little bit more less than a 1 day, and we are giving
करेक्ट
1 day. तो एक थोड़ा
करेक्ट
सा पोर्शन तो ज्यादा दे रहे हैं ना,
राइट राइट
right? Now वो जो थोड़ा पोर्शन ज्यादा है, that little bit extra part that we are adding over 128 years is become one.
करेक्ट
If you do the mathematics,
करेक्ट
okay.
दैट्स ट्रू आई मीन
Now 128 years it becomes 1 day. Now I tell you again, little bit of history. This calendar was the Julian calendar was made by Julius Caesar. Okay,
करेक्ट
but it was made official by the Christian Romans, the Romans who converted to Christianity. They
राइट
converted to made the official sometime around 325 or some AD. I don't remember the
करेक्ट
exact year. Sometime around that time.
करेक्ट
Okay. Now you see the priests. They were amazing astronomers. Actually, in those days, people had very few choices of profession. या तो
करेक्ट
लड़ाई करो, नहीं तो फार्मर बन जाओ.
बिल्कुल
These were the main two professions.
करेक्ट आई मीन लैक ऑफ
People who
इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन वाज या
exactly. Now, people who didn't follow these two, they were all more or less made into a priest.
Correct.
So, a scientist, a writer, a musician, a painter, they all kind of became priests
Correct.
everywhere. Okay, this is a slight digression from what topic, but this is something that I think all of you should
Yes.
sometimes think about.
Correct.
Okay, because that was one enclave which was given ki theek hai, इनको because they are priests, इनको they'll get their earn their money, and they are
Correct.
free to do follow their own hobbies, whatever they want to follow.
True.
Okay, so now the astronomers were mainly, at that era, they were mainly people who were priests and all.
Correct.
But at the same time, they were people from all state of the society जो पागल होते हैं, who are always crazy, and they followed these issues very, very,
Correct.
very, very, I'll use the word religiously. Okay, although it is not exactly following religion, but still they followed it religiously.
Correct. I mean, just the way
Now,
you are very when particular about it. Let's put it this way.
exactly. Now
Right.
what happens is that about 1,000 years later, around 325 or sometime I forget, they finalized the calendar. About 1,000 years later, देखा कि they said कि around देखो 128 years 1 day. So around 1,000 years, it comes down to approximately 8 days.
Correct.
Okay. Now, so they thought कि the calendar has moved by 8 days. We are ahead by 8 days. We should lose 8 days. क्योंकि every year we are gaining some
तो
fraction.
आगे चले गए
Every
हम आगे चले गए
128 years, एक दिन हाँ 128 years एक दिन आगे चले गए. So
बराबर
1,000 years 8 दिन आगे चले गए. And
correct
again it was driven by the religion because the Christians considered the Easter very important festival.
correct
And Easter is always measured with reference to the 21st of March,
correct
the equinox on
correct
21st of March.
right
And you measure the equinox with respect to the position of the stars. Okay, 21st of March में you should have the longest day in the northern hemisphere,
correct exactly
right? Now after 1,000 years you realize कि अब तो 8 दिन पीछे रह गया यार.
correct
So if
तो
this continues, then after another few hundred years, so this will become in summer
पूरा
instead
ही
of
आउट हो
spring.
जाएंगे हम लोग
पूरा ही out हो जाएंगे.
बराबर
So then people wrote to the Pope, to the Vatican, कि we have to do something with the calendar.
correct
And this was written in sometime around 1200 something. But then it took the Vatican 300 years to tackle this issue. 300
वहां
साल.
भी गवर्नमेंट था क्या मतलब ऐसा मतलब बहुत टाइम ले रहा था
You
डिसीजन
see, that is how administration works everywhere.
तो फाइल में कुछ रखा नहीं होगा ऐसा कुछ हो गया होगा मतलब
Exactly.
कैलेंडर
बाद में कुछ
कैलेंडर
रखा नहीं है. Exactly.
कैलेंडर कैलेंडर का ऑर्डर दे दिया होगा ना सर छप चुके होंगे अब कहाँ बदलें कॉन्ट्रैक्ट दे दिया होगा किसी को तो
Exactly. But the
correct
thing is, then we had Pope Gregory the Third. He was interested in astronomy. He was one of those creatures who are crazy about accurate measurement and all. So he decided कि now was, and it was in the year 1582. That was about 1,300 years later. By then, the area of this era had become 10 days. Okay.
ज्यादा
So
ज्यादा ही आउट
that
हो गए
time, ज़्यादा ही out हो गए. So that time what he decided, October May, he removed 10 days. So if you, and now the calendar started, is now is called Gregorian calendar because it was
correct
modified, what Julian calendar से modify किया. And the modification is, yeah, I'll explain this figure exactly. The modification is कि after 128 days वो एक दिन कम करना पड़ता है ना.
correct
ठीक है. Now you see, if I make this correction after every 100 days, after every 100 years, sorry, not 128 days, after 128 years,
128
I
years
have to reduce
correct
1 day.
बराबर
So what he did, his correction was that every 4 years, we will add 1 day for the leap year,
correct right
every 100 years, the 100th year, we will not add one. Okay. Every
Correct.
200 years, again we will not add one day.
Correct.
Every 300 years, we will not add one day. लेकिन 300 साल में क्या हुआ, वो 128, देखो 128 into 3 अगर करे, it comes to
Correct.
372 years. So in
Right.
372 years, we had gained 3 days. ठीक है. So
Right.
372 we approximate as 400.
Correct.
ठीक है. तो every 400 years 3 दिन हम ऐड नहीं करेंगे, लेकिन 400th जो ईयर है, again that year we will add the leap year.
Correct.
Okay. So his thing was कि every 4 year we will add a leap day,
Correct.
which is a leap year, but any year which is 100 or 200 or 300 or 400, 300 we will not add, लेकिन 400 जो है we will add.
Correct.
तो every
तो उन्होंने
400 years हमने 3 दिन का जो था ऐड हुआ था वो घटा दिया.
Correct.
ठीक है. So approximately like every 400 years approximately we are removing 3 days.
करेक्ट. सो वो मोटा मोटा एवरेज आउट हो रहा है, बिकॉज हम हर साल
Yes.
थोड़ा थोड़ा ऐड कर रहे हैं, और वो लीप ईयर में भी थोड़ा एक्स्ट्रा दे रहे हैं, तो वो
Yes.
अक्यूमुलेट हो रहा है, और मे बी 100th ईयर में हम वो घटा लेंगे, तो हम नाना से मतलब कुछ
Exactly.
अराउंड 1000-2000 साल में या 3000 साल में लोग हमको थोड़ा बेहतर तरीके से याद करेंगे, जैसे हम लोग याद कर रहे हैं उन्हें. तो
Yes. So that is why if you look into the calendar, 1896 is a leap year, 1892 is a leap year, 1904 is a leap year, but 1900 is not a leap year.
I think this is a good GK question. I remember that why this is done, and that was also related to this concept. I remember that
Yes.
why it's not one. So that's how it is, and that's why
So-
also people are like, why 2000 is a leap year? Because वो
Yeah.
400 वाला concept है, वो 100 वाला concept नहीं है. तो maybe
Exactly.
3000 में शायद हम लोग शायद ही हो. तो तब जो है
Yes.
वो तभी भी लीप ईयर तो आएगा ही. मे बी जब 4000 होगा तब नहीं आएगा.
नहीं,
तब
वो
शायद
क्या है, you see again 372 में 3 दिन हम घटाना चाहिए ना, हम वो 400 डेज में घटा रहे हैं. Okay, 400 years में घटा रहे हैं. So there is a gap of 28 years.
Correct.
Right? उसका जो एरियर है that will
फिर
be
भी वो
accumulated over 3400 years.
वो भी इनएक्यूरेट ही होगा, मतलब उस वक्त भी.
It is an
But
inaccuracy.
it's inaccuracy, but
Inaccuracy will be that inaccuracy has to be corrected after 3400 years. So 1582 the last
Correct.
correction was made. So maybe sometime around 5000 AD people will make some correction. एक दिन और
Absolutely, I mean,
घटाएंगे.
शायद ये 3000 साल बाद लोग हमारा ये वीडियो देखेंगे तो याद करेंगे इस बात को. So
Yes.
we are already 1 hour 10 minutes into this session
Exactly.
doing, and we don't know the count of time. Let's put it this way in this session. So what I'll do is that quickly take up a few more slides
Yes.
so that we could cover this topic as a
Just-
whole.
No, we can
Yeah.
stop at the next slide. Okay, just show the next slide.
Yeah.
I just wanted to end with that slide, and that
Correct.
is, again, it's a GK question that
Right.
many of us are not aware what is the Indian national calendar. We
Right.
all follow the Gregorian calendar, which
Right.
is kind of, the official calendar that is followed all over the world. But at the same time, we follow lots of calendars, right? In India, we have so many calendars. Baisakhi
Right.
hota hai, there's a Bengali calendar, there are South Indian calendars, so many of them. Okay, then there are the Marathi calendar, you have the Gujarati calendar, the North Indian calendar. Okay,
Correct.
but there is one official Indian calendar. Okay, and it was constituted by a committee, it was created by a committee headed by the great physicist Meghnad Shah, Professor Meghnad Shah.
Right.
Okay, and he gave this calendar where actually, traditionally in most of the calendars, I know at least for Bengali calendar, the first month is designated as Vaishak. Okay, in Punjab we call it Vaisakhi.
Yeah, the harvest month.
Exactly, the harvest month. But
Correct.
the Indian national calendar, the official calendar of Indian government is the first month is Chaitra.
Right.
Okay, and the last month is Falgun.
Correct.
And there's slight change because we may all the days are either 30 days or 31 days. There is no
Correct.
month with 28 days.
हाँ वो
And
एक right.
okay, and the leap day is added to the first month, which is Chaitra.
So they kept it very
Okay,
simple. I mean, 30,
very
31 and
simple.
one added to the Chaitra will alternate
Yes,
between 30 and 31 between the 4 year
yes,
period. Correct.
exactly. And you see, the first day of the year is the first day after the equinox,
Yeah, it's
which
21st
we do
of
say the March. After
March.
the
Correct.
21st, normally 22nd of March is the first
Right.
day of the year of the Indian calendar, official
Correct.
calendar.
Correct.
Okay.
I think they,
And
yes, they,
on a leap year, it is one day before 21st of March.
correct. And I think that that has been formed considering the harvesting period as well as the agricultural majority
Yes,
within the country. And it's been featured in
exactly.
this fashion where they'll start to, I mean, harvest and sow their seeds and plan the rainy season and all that stuff. So I think that makes more
Absolutely.
sense going by
Yes,
this logic.
yes, exactly. The season is maintained very properly. Traditionally, the way it has been done. At the same time, by shifting it from the 15th of the month to the 21st, 22nd of the month, you are going to the astronomically correct position.
Correct.
Okay,
Which
because
is
that is the day, where we consider the sidereal day and the solar day to be coinciding.
correct. Almost close to the point of
It
maybe
is at the is actually the that is a tradition. Okay, the equinox, that is the
correct.
position where we say the sidereal day and the sidereal time is 00 and the solar time is 00. That is officially the coinciding point.
Correct.
That is
I
the
think
again it's a convention, but that is how the convention works.
yeah, but we were just trying to bring down the inaccuracies and coming closest possible to
Exactly,
the accurate
exactly,
cycle. But there will
exactly.
remain some
True.
differences in terms of
Yes,
the spotting of collision
absolutely,
of both the points. But yeah,
exactly.
it is also a very interesting discussion. I think. Thank you, Manoj, actually, for I mean such a
Yes,
detailed overview and giving us so much of time. And for people who have been watching us all this while, I mean, thank you so much for joining in. I would like you to just share this video. I think if you found it informative, we tried to make it things simple because if you find there will be some complicated concepts and we tried to
yes.
do it make it simple. So it's just a request if you guys can also share this video to people and maybe subscribe to this channel with the bell icon. Before we end this session for now, Manoj, your final comments on this topic and
Ah, okay. I didn't think of a final comment for this particular session, but I'll say this much that what we take for granted, the concept
correct,
of a day, a month, a year, okay, it has taken our civilization thousands of years to come to a kind of a consistent understanding.
correct,
So we should appreciate the fact that our forefathers were excellent astronomical observers. We have to
correct.
appreciate that.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
And they came despite all the conflicting philosophies that ruled our lives.
right,
People were able to create a consistent picture of the world that we live in. And we should
correct,
appreciate that the world that we inherit today is due to the hard work of the generation that has gone by. We should appreciate it, admire it, and take it from there. Follow
correct, and
their
absolutely.
footsteps.
I completely agree with Dr. Manoj there because I mean for such situations there are a lot of difference of views which are also in some cases very staunchly followed. And I think if you look back
Yes,
at history, it took so much time to I mean move from the concept of Earth not being at the center of the universe.
absolutely.
Uh, so that was a big change for everybody, and it came like a
Yes,
shocker to a lot of people
yes,
that we are not the most important people in this galaxy.
exactly,
So it was such a
exactly.
shocker. And to also to put forth such ideas and pursue them because they
Yes,
are proven scientifically also take some courage. and also takes a lot of human effort to convince, especially what Anita ma'am also said on the chat, that I think with the lack of resources at that time to come up with such observations and do some analytical as well as experimental stuff, I think that was real engineering and science. Today, I mean, people just Google out stuff and take up
Exactly,
things as well.
exactly.
But to do that with no background and stuff, so I think it was challenging.
Just one thing, if you have the time, Komel, I want
Yes,
to add one more thing, and that is,
yes,
we have this habit of painting a picture of the society in one color.
correct,
Okay, we have the habit that this society believed this.
correct,
2000 years ago, the Roman society believed like this. The Greek
correct,
society followed this thing. Okay,
correct,
the Christian society followed a particular idea. But
correct,
please understand, every society is full of undercurrents of lot of ideas,
correct,
lot of thinking, and these
correct.
undercurrent of ideas are always there.
True.
They have always existed. Even when people thought of flat Earth, there were people who knew that the Earth cannot be flat.
Correct,
Maybe
correct,
they were, kind of, what shall I say? They were not in the forefront in the power structure, but the thought existed.
correct.
And if you have seen the movie Inception, what does it say? An idea is like a virus; it never dies.
Correct. And
And the problem is that the flat Earth idea also doesn't die.
correct. And I think what we like to end this session today with is that maybe we also had in mind that, I mean, Dr. Manoj is very popular with his, I mean, humor as well as knowledge. We'd like to also some controversies of astronomy, like the
Yes.
NASA never went on the moon, and Earth is flat, not circular. I think those things also we'll come try to
Oh
cover
yes,
in another
definitely.
session.
We'd love
So I
to.
think the
We'll discuss
the
everything, all the controversy. Let's say, Aja.
yeah, because so that'll be nice for all of us. Thank you so much, guys, for
Yes.
joining in. And I'll wrap the session for now. I'll only request you once again if you could just subscribe and share this video. And I appreciate Dr. Manoj's patience while he's explaining to us where. Sometimes our understanding is very far away from his expectations. But yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Manoj, for spending your time and giving us your valuable input. Thank you so much.